Guys, this is kind of interesting. Why you're wrong about Joe Rogan?
Anything we need to know, as soon as I find out, you'll know.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Okay. I want to hear about this.
Okay, here we go. I've wondered for a very long time
about him.
how Joe Rogan, this guy who describes himself as a
Professional fool.
went from hosting a game show where he eats cockroaches with contestants to becoming the host of perhaps the most popular podcast on earth.
And you're going, no! And that's how you die.
Now listen, I am not a Joe Rogan listener. Well, at least I wasn't before this story. But by now, I am. Because by now, me and my team have listened to a lot of Joe Rogan.
If you didn't know whether or not people agree with you or disagree with you, I think that'd probably be better overall for people.
I wanted to understand where this guy came from, what his deal is. What does he say during these like 2 to 3 hour long episodes that are listened to by millions of people? Because for better or worse, he is influencing a lot of people. So let me show you how an average Joe like Rogan can sit around getting high, talking to his friends, and somehow get millions of people to tune in.
Now, I know that talking about Joe Rogan can cause some controversy.
But at the end of that round, he was deep shit. He was
Before we get into it, let's thank today's sponsor. So it's 1987.
I'm gonna link his video. But his channel is called Jhonny Harris. He makes analytical videos about stuff, and he's really good at it.
Here's a 20-year-old Joe Rogan taking a guy down with a spinning back kick at a taekwondo competition.
Always moving to new schools, always dealing with new kids, and I wasn't big, and I didn't know how to fight, and I got picked on, and I didn't like it. So I said, I want to figure out how to fight.
And eventually, he got really good at it.
I was competing from the time I was 15. I just threw myself into it. It's all I did every day.
And then one summer night in 1988, when he was 21, he went to an open mic night at a comedy club in Boston.
Your legs are sprawled out on the bed like Bambi trying to walk in a frozen lake and banging your head against the headboard. I love it when we make love.
His friends goaded him to get up on stage and perform a stand-up set. It must have gone really well because soon after, Rogan moves to LA to make it big in comedy. By the 90s, he was showing up in TV shows as the goofy, lovable comedic relief.
Because the light's better over here. Damn, everything's better over here.
But this sitcom-y thing wasn't his dream. He loved comedy and fighting. Enter UFC, Ultimate Fighting Championship.
I wonder how we got in there.
Okay, so it's the late 90s, and now Joe Rogan is like a UFC commentator personality, interviewing fighters backstage. This is actual footage of his first appearance.
They are anticipating a wipeout in the finals.
And I mean, this guy's good. Like, he's got such a magnetic personality, even back then. By the time he was in his 30s, it was the 2000s, and Joe had proven to be a talented host and entertainer. And he was chosen to host a show where contestants would be pushed to their limits to test their fear. It was a show aptly named Fear Factor.
Yeah, classic.
Fear Factor. I mean, I remember this from my childhood. The show had like a huge impact on our media culture.
You know what, Chad? I feel like people kind of think that the spot for animators for these shows is kind of easy or whatever, right? I think that role is really underlooked because they do really good, right? But because they're not the main star of the show, right? I feel like we kind of forget about them a little bit. That's my at least for me.
I think it kind of laid the foundation for sensational reality.
They're overshadowed.
It was disgusting and sometimes just downright horrifying. But honestly, it was brilliant because it was impossible to look away.
What was that?
Relax, Sherry. Sherry, relax.
So Fear Factor was like the big leveling up for Joe Rogan.
You know what? Again, very fortunate. It was a great gig, plenty of money, and it was all good. And it definitely helped my stand-up. Because it gave me you money too. It gave me the ability to not worry about like having money in the bank.
And by the end of the early 2000s, Joe had a lot of experience. He was an entertainer. He was a comedian. He was a host. He was an actor. He had built a healthy network of interesting people. He was charismatic and tough and funny and hardworking. All of the ingredients he needed for his next.
The show was huge, but a lot of shows were huge, and the people that animated it were poor. They scammed them a lot. It happened a lot.
Podcasting. On Christmas Eve 2009, Joe and one of his comedian friends recorded a 2-hour podcast. It was a sprawling conversation covering everything from conspiracy theories to game addiction to sensory deprivation tanks. It was honestly a good omen for what this show would become. He called his podcast the Joe Rogan Experience, kind of a nod to Jimi Hendrix. Now remember, in 2009, podcasts weren't really a thing yet. You had a bunch of like sort of radio shows that were making it onto podcasts like This American Life or Planet Money, Stuff You Should Know, but this was all very new at the time. But that changed when people could stream podcasts on demand with their new little internet-connected pocket computers. Right from the beginning, Joe Rogan's show was fast, prolific, and consistent, uploading multiple times a week. And by the end of his second year on the show, he had had a bunch of big names as guests.
We've done everything wrong. These were young male elephants. They're the fastest moving creatures, I think, in the wild once they get going. And they hate bright shirts, which of course we were wearing. They're spooked by people holding implements, which of course that's what we were doing. And they particularly don't like being herded by people 1,000th their weight.
At the beginning, they were mostly comedians and fighters.
I'm thinking about
Tom
Cruise and Scientology. There is a man using every ounce of what Scientology is offering to make himself the best available man that he's capable of being.
Yeah.
Then you've got Travolta.
But soon he started to branch outside of comedians and fighters to a different genre of people. Let's call them thinkers.
Workers don't have the right to engage in collective bargaining in the United States until the 1930s.
Like thinkers, and then the screen rolls to fucking Miley Cyrus.
30s.
That's where that whole idea of let the market decide falls apart.
He would have philosophers on, and politicians, scientists, you name it. The show started to become just a grab bag of any interesting person Joe Rogan wanted to have a conversation with. Neil deGrasse Tyson, the astrophysicist, appeared a few times.
You get a multiverse. We didn't pull that out of our ass. That came out of the equations.
Soon, it was bigger and bigger names. Elon Musk,
Multiverses?
Russell Brand, Nick Kroll, Jay Leno, Jordan
xQc.
Peterson, Wiz Khalifa, Dr. Phil, Travis Barker. By the late 2010s, the Joe Rogan Experience was reaching around 11 million listeners per episode, making it the most popular podcast ever, at least on platforms like Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Like, I had never listened to this, but I knew of Joe Rogan because he's kind of everywhere when you're scrolling through any podcast app. So then in 2020, Spotify was like,
Any app.
I want a piece of this, like, giant popular podcast. And they bought the exclusive rights to the podcast for $200 million.
Which is unbelievably insane.
This was a huge deal for Joe Rogan, but also for podcasts.
Let's go.
Even after this big deal, the show retained its unfiltered quality. It still was Joe Rogan sitting around, chatting with mostly dudes, talking openly and unfiltered for hours.
You don't know what a bear is. I've seen a bear in the wild. When you see a bear in the wild, you're like, oh, you don't give a fuck about me.
Often getting progressively more high with his guest.
Do people get upset at you if you do certain
More
things?
high?
There's tobacco and marijuana in there.
I'm getting text messages from friends saying, "What the hell are you doing smoking weed?"
Okay, so my job has
Oh,
apparently
no,
turned
not
into
weed.
getting super deep into watching stuff that I never watched before, like North Korean films, and now Joe Rogan podcasts. Like, I've dedicated a significant amount of my time over the past several months to watching this show. And even still, I'm just scratching the surface. These episodes are long. They're like 2.5 hours on average, and there are almost 2,000 of them. We're talking thousands and thousands of hours of this stuff. Luckily for this story, I had help from our story producer, Alex, to help us listen to a lot of this stuff. I also spoke with some longtime Joe Rogan listeners for some insight.
Crazy.
And here in the office, we actually had some pretty nice heated debates about Joe Rogan.
5,000 or 6,000 hours of concentrated produced content.
And now, after my baptism by Joe Rogan, I now have some big takeaways, some things I want to say. Number one, Joe hates boxes.
And people love that he hates boxes.
He spends a lot of time lambasting our society's need to fit people into buckets, into labels.
I think this left, right paradigm is really kind of fucking foolish at this point.
And indeed, it's fairly impossible to put Joe Rogan into the standard ideological boxes that we're all sort of pressured to fit into. Most of our media discourse loves boxes, loves to inflame our super identities, the things that we must believe in order to be a good liberal or a good conservative.
What kind of opinions are okay to have because they don't interfere with anybody else's life? And it's
You guys say Bayzada? Well, you all call me a centrist when I agree and disagree with both sides all the time. Shut up, bitch ass. You guys are fucking stupid. Shut up.
just your philosophy and the way you look at the world. And you should be able to express that opinion and express those ideas in front of someone else who has an opposing idea, and they tell you why they disagree.
And so before I listened to 1,000,000 hours of the show, I had mostly seen Joe Rogan in the context of like short little edited clips of like smackdowns showing like some egregious thing that Joe Rogan had said, that he was transphobic or fatphobic or misogynistic or racist. There's a lot of these mashups out there.
She's giant. Like, look at the size of her head, her formerly male head.
Yeah.
That's a giant woman.
We walk into. We walked in. Dude, we walked in the door and there was no white people. There was no white people.
Wow. I don't get it.
That video is so bad it actually made me miss the N-word video.
And when you watch this stuff, it's so easy to just like slot him into like, oh, he must be like some far right sort of like racist reaction.
Guys, he said we walk into the what? Because I don't even know what they said. They just blurted out. At least we got the first couple letters. We can know what they said. I don't know what they said.
Reactionary commentator. So I was surprised, honestly, when I listened to a lot of this guy to find out that his politics actually lean mostly left.
She's the wife of the best president that we have had in our lifetime.
He openly and earnestly voices support for everything from universal health care to abortion to gay marriage to recreational drugs.
I lean way left when it comes to those kind of things, gay rights and things like social programs for disenfranchised people and disenfranchised communities. I lean way like if I want my tax dollars to go to anything, I want it to go to making people's lives easier.
I'm not right wing at all.
Oh, okay.
No,
That's wild.
No, there's nothing about me that's right wing.
He even endorsed Bernie Sanders, the Democratic Socialist, in 2020 after having him on the show.
There's not a single human that can speak for all the American people, but you could look out for the interests of the American people, and I think Bernie Sanders definitely does do that.
You got 3 people owning more wealth than the bottom half of the American society. You don't see that on television too much, do you?
No, you don't.
3 people. You got the top 1% owning more wealth than the bottom 92%.
What are the misconceptions of you? Because here's the if you go to the knee-jerk conservative reaction, you talk to people who are not interested in anyone that wants to be a democratic socialist. They hear the name Bernie Sanders. The negative implications are that you are somehow or another going to take their money, right? Is that annoying to you?
Yes, it is. Of course it is.
Oh, and here he is with presidential hopeful Andrew Yang, agreeing with him on the super progressive idea of universal basic income.
My initial knee-jerk...
Bro, why would I apologize to Bernie? Bro, I'm pretty sure the guy's richer than me. Richer than... Bro.
reaction was, get the out of here. Like, universal basic income, just going to give people money, they're just going to be lazy. Nothing's ever
balling
gonna
out.
That's a terrible idea. And then I started paying attention to the rise of AI and automation and how many jobs are going to get taken away from. And then once you see the actual numbers, it's pretty staggering.
But despite thinking that, he presents his ideas in this very kind of anti-woke, anti-political correctness, say whatever you want type of vibe. And this is confusing, but also very appealing. People love to listen to a guy whose views and language are all over the place. I think for a lot of people, it's like a respite from the predictable lineup of popular voices that tow a predictable list of beliefs, opinions, views, and enemies. Rogan's style is rare, and I think people like that. Which gets me to my second big takeaway. Joe Rogan sells contrarianism. That is his product. A quick reminder that Joe Rogan isn't...
Do you want to know why that isn't? People are scared that people are gonna. Guys, I've said this a million times. People are scared that people are gonna stop them. People are gonna put stuff in their tracks based on what they say, right? And the only person that stops you from doing you most of the time, unless you're fucking mega racist and shit like that, is you. People can't really stop you. So if you're just gonna keep doing what you're doing, you're chilling the fuck out. And it doesn't matter, chat. What comes out, what we were saying, whatever the fuck. As long as they just keep going and keep doing them, and they don't get stopped by the platforms or whatever. They're chilling the fuck out. Yes, I've said this a bunch of times. I don't know why you guys say question mark to this. It's very. It's like a self-cancellation fucking theory. Okay, that's very important. People get mad. Okay, cool. Next episode comes up. Oh, people are mad about whatever I said. Okay, cool. Next episode comes out, and it just keeps going.
Just a guy. He is a commercial
and he always
icon,
wins.
A seasoned performer who performs for an audience for money. He knows what people want, and he is selling something very popular. an alternative to the endless, reductionist, polarized name-calling of our current discourse.
They all do the same move. They drop down and do the splits.
That's what I think when I'm watching your shows too. You know, all the same stuff.
But
and he goes to great lengths to stake himself out as this anti-authority, anti-establishment platform where anyone can come and talk.
If you're in one camp, you're supposed to have all the opinions that one camp has.
Yeah.
And if you do not align with all the opinions that one camp has, you find yourself cast out of the group.
No woke police, no mainstream media bias, no corporate deception, just an earnest, curious guy trying to find the truth and not really worrying too much about changing his language to fit the politically correct sensitivities of the day.
What I didn't anticipate was social media and the echo chambers that it would provide.
Right.
And that these ideological echo chambers also come with virtue signaling. And that people get on these things because you're only dealing with a short amount of characters, and you state something that you know is going to get a bunch of likes, and people are very addicted to likes.
The fans I talk to love this about Joe Rogan. Like, he's like the antidote to like the corporate mainstream biased media that's polarizing us all. And frankly, I think he leans into this as his brand. Which gets me to my third point, and this is where I have my biggest critique of Joe Rogan. Joe lets people talk and talk and talk and talk.
The principles of human interaction on this planet are largely dictated by our ability to discuss things.
Let's see. As we've seen, Joe has had a huge variety of guests on his show. A lot of these are like famous people that you just get to watch talk in this sort of unfiltered way.
Let's see, chat. I think this is gonna be contradicting to what you said earlier. Maybe I'm wrong. Let's see it.
Like Robert Downey Jr.
I predicted
or Miley Cyrus. But then you also have a lot of people with big opinions and big points of view, from super mainstream and respected voices to experts on like really specific science things. But then you have a handful of a lot of controversial fringe characters, people who have been censored or canceled by the mainstream media. And honestly, I think Joe takes huge pride in having this spectrum of different points of view.
And
now,
he should.
I don't know Joe Rogan, but my guess is that half of this is his personality. He seems to be a guy who loves to discuss things with people. He seems to have an open mind. But I think half of this, again, is a response to the upkeep of his brand. I think he likes the appeal of being this anti-mainstream platform.
I don't even...
who has been...
Okay, yes, I'm not trying to be contrary. I swear to you guys, I actually disagree with that. I think there's some sort of... I just think that there's an appeal to having ideas that are sometimes kind of far out, right? That could have some validity, and you think that they're misunderstood, or you misunderstand them, and your interest of having it on the show is to understand them personally, at which you can break them down or not in a one-to-one, right? And that translates that to the audience, but maybe he actually cares about that, and he wants to know, right? And I think that matters a lot, and he shouldn't say a lot about his fucking intentions or whatever.
Canceled by the
that's
woke
simple.
mob can come and get their fair shake, tell their side of the story.
I mean, you don't have to agree on everything in order to have a common sense of the important values that unify the country or should.
And here comes my big critique. I think there's a fallacy tucked into all of this. When Joe has these people on, it almost feels like he's giving them a chance to tell their side of the story.
Which
like
he
they
should.
don't have a place to...
What's up? Yeah.
to tell their side, and they've been unfairly censored. But I think this is flawed thinking. Not everyone who has a point of view and who is famous has ideas worth hearing or debating in our society. I really believe that. There are people who've gotten famous simply because they've made a career off of being loud and mean, and human nature loves that.
Again, I'll disagree, Chad. This is why I want to be my last text on the video. I sincerely disagree. You want to know why I disagree with that? Is he praises him for being him and being himself as a journey and as a I'm gonna meet this guy and he's learning, he's asking questions, he's dialoguing with people, and he's just talking and having opinions and just kind of going through life, right, on the podcast. And then he gets upset that means that some people are gonna talk, right? And I think that kind of goes against it, because he says, oh, if the mainstream media is so biased and censored and this and that, then why do you want him to do the same thing that the mainstream media does on his show? The same way that what we were talking about the other day, right? Remember, Chad, when Netflix is like, guys, it makes everything so simple with movies and shit like that, right? We're going away from cable television. We're away from cable and we're going towards streaming. It's easy to get movies and blah, 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 right? But then, what does that happen? Now we have a bunch of platforms, a bunch of things you have to subscribe to, and now we are right back to fucking cable television. It's the same concept and the same problems and challenges. And now I think he's saying the exact same thing here. Oh, mainstream media, you know what it does, chat? It censors this, it does this, it controls it, whatever. And now he wants Joe Rogan to fit in that box of controlling and censoring whatever and doing all the shit. And we're right back to the same problem at that point. It is exactly the same problem. You just want them to go right back to it, which is what the perks of this is that it's not that. But now we're going back. He wants them to go back. It doesn't make any sense.
Senate voted to kill babies.
Like, here's a show with Gavin McInnes.
I started this gang called the Proud Boys. And
The Proud Boys?
The Proud Boys.
What's Proud Boys about?
A far-right extremist group that promotes white supremacy ideology and proudly promotes violence against groups they don't agree with.
4 members of the Proud Boys, that far-right extremist organization, well, they've been found guilty of seditious conspiracy for their roles in the January 6th attack on the Capitol.
Like, here he is fondly remembering the time his group violently attacked people who were protesting Milo Yiannopoulos at Berkeley.
He goes, I started feeling bad after a while because I could tell these kids had never been in a fight and I was just mowing through them.
I mean, I don't know, like, having a guy on your show who espouses the view that lenient immigration and abortion among white women is leading to white genocide in the West doesn't feel like fruitful, robust dialogue that will open all of our minds and push the boundaries of our discourse. It feels like outraging people with old tribal ideas to get attention. And this is my critique, is like, it feels like sometimes
Oh my god, chat, you guys got me, guys. You're trying to invalidate my take from earlier, right? Because of these clips, right? So you're trying to say that in a 3-hour conversation, right, there was no value gained and there was nothing good about it, and it was all done because of the clips and the things that these things represent. Oh my god, I cannot believe it. That's crazy. Congratulations,
Joe
chat.
will have these
You're
people
wrong.
on because they say and do reprehensible things, not in spite of it.
I'm taking the low road. I'm punching them in the face.
So that's what you're doing with this outfit?
Yes.
They think they can ruin his work because he jerked off in front of some people.
You know, I'm not going to bow down before them and say you were right, and they want me to. But they weren't right. I'm right. I wrote it.
Again, his brand is the anti-establishment place where you won't get censored by the woke police. But listen, Joe is absolutely right. Being able to say things, no matter how much I disagree with them, is a vital right. It is an unnatural and precarious thing. People should be able to speak, and we must protect that. I believe that. And Joe should absolutely, legally be allowed to give his giant megaphone to whoever he wants. But that doesn't mean I'm not going to critique it. Because listen, having this open-minded, likable guy who's very good at entertaining us give his megaphone to other dudes who promote violence, who tear down science, who invent fake facts and talk about them like they're real, it doesn't promote curiosity. It normalizes lying. It validates...
Wow, I disagree so much. I don't even know how to fucking even put it in a one thought or phrase. I massively disagree, dude. Dude. In a complete fucking tirade of fucking bullshit, lies, and garbage. Okay, if your brain has all these things that are lined up and you end up being wrong about, and you talk to somebody, right? There is some form of value in that and having a conversation about it with a good interlocutor or a good interviewer. Okay, because sometimes from lies and bad ideas, whatever, right? Unless you're saying, oh yeah, you are right, this is true, and you're validating it, right? You're creating new thoughts and new pathways that sometimes lead to new fucking new answers and new places that end up being good. Okay, that's the whole thing. It's like fucking philosophy. Okay, yes, in most fields we have all the answers. Correct. That makes a lot of sense. But in order to get new stuff, you have to ask new questions, right? In order to get new answers, because you already have the good answer. And some of these dialogues sometimes entertain a dynamic that creates these new questions that give us new answers that are at value, even if it's 0.01%, and there's only just one good word out of all of it. That's still value, and your take on it is fucking irrelevant. You're dumb. I don't want to hear it.
It's factlessness, which is something that, if you haven't heard, we already have a problem with. We're already battling that.
Nuclear bombs actually don't exist. that they never actually figured it out, but they realized that the threat of nuclear bombs is good enough.
But Eddie, you can see the bombs.
The atom bombs?
But how do you know by seeing?
That makes no sense. Okay, you know what, dude? Fuck you, dude. Okay, watch this. Okay, the pyramids. Watch what goes up at the pyramids. Were the guys yapping? Are they druggies? Maybe you're right, right? And they lifted. What if people said, guys, the pyramids in Egypt, dude, they built it because of this and that, right? And we just stopped right there. Fuck it. Anything else is anti-science, anti-brain function, because we already have the answers. They place the rocks with fucking sliders and fucking and sleds and water or some shit, right? And then we just fucking stop entirely, right? Then that becomes the truth, and it's cemented, and we just count anything against it, right? You know, the guys were saying some where they were like yapping and shit and whatever. I still think that there's value to keeping some sort of dialogue or some sort of interest into that, right? And for people to come up with new theories, new conclusions, and then you have more material to go down from to get to other places. That's it, dude. It doesn't mean that they're right. It doesn't mean that you validate them. It's just a conversation. You think that it breaks society to fucking have these conversations be broadcasted somewhere is stupid. It's not much fuck. It means that we have to just say, guys, everything out there that is true forever and will never change. That's how we stop improving, you dumb fuck.
And this feeling really hit me when I was listening to the episode with Alex Jones. Alex Jones, a man who has created an empire off of promoting lies and warped information so that he can sell health supplements.
Our fertility is being targeted, and it's dropping across the Western world. Ladies and gentlemen, Anthroplex is the newest addition.
Why does anybody that make money with something, it's everything they do, it is their motive to make it is their motive to sell it. I fucking hate this dumb fucking brain that... Guys, not everything you say is controversial on purpose to sell something. It's just not like... Why does that not... If you apply this argument across the board to all other forms of media and people, right? Then it loses its value entirely, because then you understand it's... Oh my distress, if I can
InfoWarsLife.com.
A man who was recently ordered to pay $1.5 billion in damages to the families of the Sandy Hook shooting victims for spreading lies about the shooting being a hoax. And yet here he is on the Joe Rogan Experience, getting a chance to tell his side of the story.
When I started getting accused 4 years ago, a couple years into it, when I said, no, I think it happened, then people that I had interviewed and things started saying, he's involved, he's one of them.
Because you are now saying that it happened, they thought that you'd been compromised.
Yes, and then I was realizing,
this is how it works.
A certain percentage of people are schizophrenic.
I'm not defending Alex Jones. I'm just telling you that whatever he's doing right now, right? Dude, the thought process isn't to, oh, dude, because down the line, I'm going to be selling some fucking powder for some bullshit, dude. Dude, that's not all like that. Stop making everything so boring and bland and one-sided. It's just not that simple, dude. Like, when you don't agree with somebody, stop making it all one-dimensional. Dude, this person, I don't agree with them, right? And they're wrong. Therefore, everything that they do is all to sell their product at the end of the line. Dude, don't do that, man. It's lame as fuck.
Exactly. And then they just think everything's a conspiracy.
Now listen.
Then you're going to justify that everything I do, from the moment I wake up to right now, to what I'm saying right now, check guys, I'm being controversial. You wanna know why, dude? Because later down the line, we might switch platforms and gamble and make money, dude, and I did it all to push gambling, dude, make some money, and it's all for money. Like, oh, dude, stop, relax, take a seat. Somebody's such a fucking bitch for a minute. Christ.
Tell you the truth right now and admit something, which is that when I watched this, I actually had a moment where I was like, oh my God, like, here's Alex Jones in this, like, very calm environment. He's not, like, yelling like he does on InfoWars.
My heart's big. It's got hot blood going through it fast. I like to eat. I like to have children.
And I literally thought, like, wait, is Alex Jones, like, was he wrongfully accused, or was this overly exaggerated? Was this like a witch hunt to censor this guy because he's like kind of has far right views? Because this felt like a proper moment for Jones to tell his side of the story.
I began to realize, because I was on the receiving end of people pulling up in white vans with guns at my office saying, I know you put a microchip in my head and I'm going to kill you. So I came out and I said, listen, I never sent anybody to the houses, but I apologize if it was taken out of context. People have a right to question, but I'm sorry for the families, and I'm sorry for your hurt, and I get it, and I've experienced crazy people now, big time, just like you have. Please stop saying that I'm saying it didn't happen.
And he nearly persuaded me. But wait, no. Then I remembered that My full-time job is to do journalism.
No one died in 2012 in Sandy Hook.
And luckily, I sit around and fact-check things all day. And I researched it, and I reminded myself that there's actually not a ton of nuance here. The facts. Alex Jones repeatedly claimed that the Sandy Hook shooting was a staged event, orchestrated by the globalists, the government, to promote gun control.
That's why the globalists use children's deaths to go after our guns, because they know it gets to us.
He suggested that the grieving parents...
Yes, I see all that. Yes, the guy's still wrong across the board on a lot of topics. Okay, the guy's still a fuckhead. Okay, Alex Jones is still fucking brain dead. That will never change. He said it himself. Okay, that doesn't mean it's all to sell the fucking powder in his fucking box at the end of the show, dude. It's not how that works.
Were crisis
That's all I said.
And that no children had actually died.
Early on, I said, well, they had to have killed somebody. I mean, this doesn't make sense. Then parents come out and start laughing and then turn to the camera and cry.
These grieving families who had experienced unimaginable horror had to relocate because of the harassment they received, in part due to Jones peddling of this lie so that it could sell health supplements. These are facts that are available to all of us, okay? And yet, I don't know about you, but if I weren't a full-time journalist who was paid to go down rabbit holes and check facts, I'm not sure I would have gone and done this. I'm not sure I would have gone and reviewed all of the facts and wrestled with them in my mind, especially not after listening to 2.5 hours.
Guys, if it wasn't that, it'd be to sell merch because he has merch, or we're gonna make ad rev if he has ad rev, or to fucking farm some money from subscribers if he has subscribers. It's like a fucking bullshit rabbit hole that isn't worth pushing it. He's still wrong across the board. What he's saying are still non-facts and lies, and it's a problem, and I get that. But it's all fucking bullshit, fucking goal posting of fucking revenue. I think it's stupid.
Of Alex Jones talking. I think the idea of trusting your viewers.
That's for that. Okay, dude.
Irresponsible and naive. I spend every day of my life making sure that the things I tell you are factually accurate. If I get something wrong, it's a cardinal sin. In a world of algorithms and misinformation and Russian bots, it becomes nearly impossible to fact check everything you see, which is why we rely on trusted voices to help us navigate the information out there, to help us navigate what is real and what is not.
Nobody cares about? I don't give a fuck.
Alex Jones, a man who makes money off lies, gets to tell his side of the story. And what does he do with his time? Surprise!
Oh my fucking god, I can't with this guy. Oh my fucking god, dude. Oh my god, what is wrong with this guy, dude? Dude, 90% of everybody out there fucking makes money from lies. Okay, that's just, what do you think the fucking mainstream media is? They make billions off of legitimate lies that they know are lies. That's the whole bit. What is it all about? What's it all about? Yes, what do you think clickbait is? What do you think slight misinformation is? What, dude, they make money off of lies. That's the whole fucking point, dude. That doesn't make it chill. It makes it that that was what society is these days. Dude, misinformation spreads faster than good information. Sensationalism spreads faster. It makes more money. There's an incentive to do it to make more money. It's what every fucking does. Stop fucking calling out one person because, oh, he's doing it, guys. Dude, everybody fucking does it. That's the whole point. It's all fucking dog shit. Nitpicking because it's not on your side of your truth. Oh my god, dude. It's all dog shit. We know this already.
Lies.
The amount of Sandy Hook coverage against me has been so insane and so huge because it's supposed to be the first domino that once I'm taken down, then all the dominoes fall.
He tells a story about how this was all one big conspiracy to take him down. Now, of course, there is more nuance to this conversation as usual. Rogan does push back a few times.
You say, okay, Hassan, brother, listen, I like Hassan. That's pretty much what Hassan does, okay? He does like pop media shit. Whenever there's like news that come out, okay? He covers it, okay? And the whole thing usually, initial responses, a lot of things that happen, end up being wrong, end up being selectively picked, end up being misrepresented, end up being pretty much lies or half lies, right? And it's all shit because it's better to just wait at the back till all the information is laid out there and make a proper news analysis. That's what you should do if you actually care about the truth, unless you don't. Which is the whole fucking point of this shit, okay? So they say it's a Hassan thing, it's a fucking brain dead. Because the correct way to do it, we give all the pieces and say, guys, this is how it is. But they don't fucking do that, right? Because it makes money. Everybody does it one way or another. Stop fucking saying this guy's wrong because he's doing it like this. Everybody do it. Not like a low percentage. Everybody does.
I think I think the majority of them are angry because the narrative has been that you're sending people to these Sandy Hook families' homes.
But I guess I'm wondering why. Why is this the person that you want on your show, Joe? You're a curious, open-minded guy, and you've decided that this guy's voice is who deserves your megaphone to 11 million people. And this doesn't even get to the other hours that Jones has on Rogan's show, where he outlines his theories on genetics and race.
Native Americans, you can mind control really fast.
Why is that?
Well, it's like Vietnam. So Asians are about the most fearless killers there are.
You're like, Native Americans, they're the best out there. They can do Native Americans are the easiest to do mind reading to because, you know, they're like one unit. And the Asians, it's just like so crazy. Oh, and this clip has less nuance. Like if you listen to the whole thing.
Guys, I just thought this was about fucking Joe Rogan. Guys, I'm not even defending him. You're just, bro, why does it, chat, you guys have to ask, this media, okay? This sphere of internet bullshit has gone fucking dog shit. Every time you say something, right, that isn't full on, right, against somebody, right, like, if it's not full on against them, oh, dude, you're defending them. If somebody, dude, let's say somebody, right, has does something really fucking bad, okay, and shoots a gun, and it's terrible, and they shouldn't do that, right? He's like, and you go in and say, okay, this is all bad, right? Oh, but that was like, okay, you know, no, I'm using another topic because this is gonna get out of control. Right? Let's say some guy pulls up, right? And he's like a bad person. He does something bad, right? He pulls up in a car that's really fucking nice. It's a really fucking nice car, and it's well taken care of. And then you see the video, and he's like, wow, this guy's a fucker. This guy's doing something bad. And you say, oh man, this car is kind of sick. Oh my god, are you glazing this bad person? Dude, are you saying that like, dude, are you like defending him that he has a nice car? Bro, relax. It's not because everything, not because somebody does all bad that it's all of it is bad. You can still be like not even a devil advocate. You can still that there's multiple components in somebody. You can hate somebody, admire one. Andrew Tate, okay? A lot of his takes I think are dog shit. A lot of them. A lot of his ideologies and his voice communicating are shit. They're damaging and stupid. But his views on motivation and discipline are very sound and are very good. And if applied, make you a overall more successful person. That is just a fact. Doesn't mean that I'm a glazer, guys. I'm defending Andrew Tate. No. His views on self-discipline and motivation are very sound. They are. And that doesn't mean that you're glazing and you're defending him. That is not what that means. You're just being fucking stupid. It's cringe. Saying people like, oh guys, all these bad takes, right? And then he says like, dude, you should try to be a better person. Dude, like wake up in the morning and go to work. Yo, dude, like giddy up and provide for your family. Shit like that. Like, dude, how are you gonna disagree with that? It's a good thing. Good, like take care of yourself. Like holy shit, man.
You're actually
These
just
are crazy.
watching Alex Jones talking nonstop about totally bullshit theories on race and genetics. And Joe is just sitting there nodding his head.
Native Americans are gung-ho and they're tough and they're ready to fight. And I'm part Native American, only like 6% Comanche, and Texas. And just that little bit makes me wild.
No, they're not breaking any laws. This is their right. But what the f***? This isn't exploring both sides. This isn't nuanced conversation. This is pretend information framed as rigorous discussion, echoing ideas and thought processes that have been used for centuries to divide and demean people. This isn't balanced conversation. It's faulty logic and factlessness disguised as discourse. I have no respect for it. And listen, Joe Rogan wouldn't disagree with me fully on this. He knows that putting people on his show helps them, helps their ideas.
And by the way, I'm not a Trump supporter in any way, shape, or form. I've had the opportunity to have him on my show more than once. I've said no every time. I don't want to help him.
This isn't the public square. This isn't a personal conversation between friends sharing ideas. This is a powerful man who commands the attention of millions of people. He has decisions on who he gives his megaphone to.
You know, chat, I said, chat, this is what's wrong with any field around content creation. It's fucking dog shit. It's transferring people's interests into fucking political ideologies. It's transferring curiosity into motives. It's shifting things that are natural and human and fun most of the time into dog shit, trash, nefarious ideas. And it's damaging for any creative spheres out there. It's fucking dog shit. I said it, dude.
And who he does not, and what facts he decides to challenge and which he does not. Okay, wait, but I'm not done. There's nuance to my critique, which is that sometimes letting people with ideas that I find reprehensible talk is actually really good. Most of Joe Rogan's guests are not Alex Jones. They're honestly interesting, stimulating conversations with a lot of really interesting people. And even the ones I disagree with, there is so much value in letting them talk. Like, I listened to this 2-hour conversation with Candace Owens, a political pundit who I deeply disagree with. I mean, she's called Trump the savior of Western civilization. She's called Black Lives Matter a bunch of whiny toddlers pretending to be oppressed for attention. I deeply disagree with this woman. After listening to the show with Candace Owens, I still deeply disagree with Candace Owens. In fact, I found more reasons to reject her approach to politics and facts.
So let's say we all agree that global warming is real. I don't believe it's real, okay? So I can't sit here.
But here's the question, but why have a belief?
What do you mean?
Why have a belief as to whether or not global warming is real or not real?
Because I just find that when things,
you don't understand the science.
You are correct.
But crucially, suddenly what I couldn't do was hate her like was so easy before. It's really hard to hate someone when you listen to them speak.
I received some voicemail messages from about 4 kids, and the language was
Because I don't know what you just said. I don't think I understand what you said.
It's pretty strong. It was like, we're gonna tar and feather your family. We're gonna put a bullet in the back of your head like we did to Martin Luther King. Like, N-word, N-word, N-word.
You inconveniently have to see them as a real human with feelings and thoughts and ideas, and it becomes a lot harder to just put them into a bucket as someone I should hate. Which, of course, as we all know, is a huge thing that we've lost in our world of echo chambers, where we only hear from people that we agree with. And when we do hear from people we disagree with, it's often framed in an outrageous clickbaity article linked on Twitter entitled, "Watch the senator that you agree with destroy the person you disagree with and reinforce your views that they are a monster and that you are justified in hating them." This is how I knew Candace Owens before I listened to her speak for 2 hours. But now I see her as a person, a human who holds views that I see as objectively bad for people and our society. But I can't dehumanize her.
Somebody started doing this prank call and shit on you, and was this...
It was all in one night.
It was all in one night?
Yeah, it was like 4 voicemails.
Was this tied to like a boyfriend?
No,
or
so
a girl
I was
jealous?
at a boyfriend's house when I got the calls, and I just like put it to silent because it was like blocked number. So I was like, I didn't think anything of it. And then like when I listened to it, like it was like some pretty horrific stuff. Like I definitely cried. I was 17 years old.
And this gets me to my last takeaway, and then we'll finish up this video, which is that Joe Rogan models curiosity and openness. And this is valuable. It is rare and unique to watch a tough guy fighter, TV host, dirty comedian with a microphone admit that he's wrong.
Here's the thing. These are not like planned statements. Let's be real clear. I don't have an off-air and on-air voice. I don't.
No.
I have me.
This is it. You typically don't see stuff like this.
Do I get things wrong?
Yeah, because people aren't looking. That's why people aren't looking at. Because people just fucking tune in on what's popular and trending and whatever's up there on the right platforms, right medias. People aren't looking and actually listening. That's why.
Absolutely, I get.
It is out there though.
I try to correct them.
And when it comes to powerful men in this world, most of the loudest voices are the ones promoting a confident, macho, nightmare version of masculinity.
Nobody would be tougher on ISIS than Donald Trump.
And while I don't vibe with all of the ways that Joe expresses his manhood, I think he is a force for good in this department, in showing an eagerness to ask questions and an ability to change his mind. And yet, as I mentioned earlier, my critique is that I think he overuses this persona, this confident, curious persona of, I don't know anything, I'm not an expert.
Like if you say you disagree with me, I probably disagree with me too. Yeah. When I say something stupid, I'm not thinking about what I'm going to say.
In my opinion, you can't overuse curiosity and questioning it. Extremely rarely. I don't think Joe does it deliberately. maliciously. That's my take on it. I think questions are fine.
Hey, before I say it, I'm just saying it.
To tacitly validate deceiving information and to give voice to opportunistic characters. And so in the end, I'm not really sure if this modeling of an open mind outweighs the proliferation of seductively fake facts and ideas, especially in a time where truth and facts are already scarce and under siege and creating confusion for all of us.
Dude, they have human-animal hybrids. There's the frickin', I have been there when people that work for the Pentagon say that we go to the laboratory and we meet with the ambassador. We have to take higher and higher dosages to meet with them. They're giving us technology and the technology worked.
I don't even think it's clear that carbon dioxide is actually a problem, but we can leave that aside.
They say that 80% of kids who experience any sort of gender dysphoria as children grow out of it.
This tension is not unique to Rogan. All media, all news outlets are subject to this seductive temptation to appeal to the worst parts of our nature. Rogan's version of it is unique because he and his show are unique. So for how much I disagree with some of his standards and fact-checking habits, I do take comfort in this guy's commitment to openness, to curiosity. Joe Rogan.
Fact-checking on a live show is quite literally almost impossible. You cannot fact-check something on the fly. That's something that takes sometimes people's days, weeks, months, years. Jamie can do it on the fly for a little bit. Full fact-check is incredibly difficult and elaborate. It takes a lot of time, dude. Guys, when you do actual fact-checking, it can take a very long amount of time. Okay, that's just on the live show. You can do as best as you can. It will never be perfect. I think he does even effort at it, right? Or sometimes he just goes on with the conversation. He just goes on. From my understanding, okay, Joe Rogan will nod his head and say, okay, for the sake of the conversation flow. Otherwise, you're gonna say, yo, dude, like there was like 1,000 feet in this whatever. Actually, maybe you're wrong about this. Let me Google it. It's 973. Okay. Anyway, so and then at the top there's like 4 flags. Wait a minute. I think there was 4 flags. Now there's only 3 of them. Dude, shut up. Like, dude, it's about the flow of conversation. It's a fucking podcast, you fucker. What is wrong with you?
Rogan is a powerful man who changes his mind, who admits when he's wrong, which I think is a much needed counterbalance in an increasingly polarized world.
And sometimes the best way to combat bad speech is to let that speech play out and let good speech overwhelm it with logic and reason and a better argument.
But if they admit that they're wrong, then they're also admitting that they have horribly disfigured and abused thousands, maybe millions of kids.
How many people have had this done?
Depends on what. I don't think we have exact numbers, but if we're talking about the drugs, millions.
It says over the last 5 years, there were at least 4,780 adolescents who started puberty blockers and had a prior gender dysphoria diagnosis. Million sounds great.
Yeah. I could be wrong.
Yeah.
Wi-Fi radiation does all kinds of bad things, including causing cancer.
Wi-Fi radiation causes cancer?
Yeah, from your cell phone. I mean, there's cell phone tumors. You know that. I mean, I'm representing hundreds of people who have cell phone tumors behind the ear.
I wish I knew.
Cell phone tumors behind the ear.
Oh, I wish I knew you wanted me. Wish I knew. Yeah. I wish
Oh
I
my
knew
fucking
you
God,
wanted
dude.
me. Oh, I wish I knew. I wish I knew you wanted
Always
me.
on the ear that you favor with your cell phone.
It's a thing.
Okay. Hey, everyone. Thanks for watching my big, long video essay on Joe Rogan. Been thinking about this one for a long time. Let me tell you about a couple of things. First off, I made a poster, a physical product, a thing that exists in the real world after a decade of making things that only exist in pixels. So he's in the trying to do here.
I enjoyed the video. So guys, I enjoyed it. The video. I just like when his guys' videos are more informative than opinionated, because that one felt like it was extremely opinionated. It seems like his a lot of bad faith arguments kind of done deliberately, which usually I try to stay away from overall. When it's bad faith, because bad faith kind of sucks. Okay, bad faith you're just kind of like, because you're assuming the worst almost on purpose ahead of time. And if you did that with everybody and everything, you wouldn't really go anywhere. Is that Yappington? Okay.
39 months old, no way.
You have no idea what we're talking about? Well, at least I try to keep an open mind, so that one day maybe I know what I'm talking about. If I'm like you though, you might not know a lot, right? You'll never know more, because you're a fucking moron. That's why, dude. Your behavior might have more information than I do initially, and you're gonna be bricked there for your entire fucking life because you're an idiot. So that's why. Christ, this guy.
King Yappington III.
So I ask questions and I listen and I show interest. I don't come in with my conclusions and start like, hey guys, you can't break this. I don't do that. Dumbass.